Hello and welcome to this music theory video. In this video we're going to be talking all about how to read key signatures and what that means whenever you're in the music. Now, music theory I know for a lot of people has some connotations of being difficult and a lot of memory, but remember, everything in music theory is just a way to write down and tell other people what we have decided already sounds good. In the case of key signatures, you only really need to memorize 2 key signatures because everyone has agreed upon using the same pattern for what sharps and flats they write into it. You should never have to check which notes are in the key signature because they should always be in the exact same order. For flats, that order is B, E, A, D, G, C, F, which I like to remember as the word bead and then greatest common factor. Sharps is the exact opposite order, so F, C, G, D, A, E, B, which I remember as factor common greatest Dave. I remember flats, not sharps. I learned them better. The key signature should be set in between the clef sign, so treble or bass clef or whatever you're using, and the time signature. If there is nothing in that space in between those, you are in the key of C. There are no sharps and flats in the key of C. Like we talked about in our Making Major Scales video, the key of C is entirely just the white keys on a piano, and there are no sharps and flats. That is one of the 2 keys you have to memorize, and that is also a really common key to use, so get to know that. If there are no sharps and flats, you're in the key of C. For key signatures with sharps in them, the trick is half step above the last sharp names the key. This works in all circumstances. So if we have 1 sharp, for example, that will always be an F sharp because of the order that we put them in, and a half step above F sharp is the note G. So in that case, you're in the key of G major. If there are 3 sharps, for example, then your last sharp will always be G sharp, F, C, G. Half step above G sharp is A, so you are in the key of A major. One thing where this gets a little tricky is once you get to 6 and 7 sharps, you have to pay a bit more attention. So if there are 6 sharps, your last sharp is E sharp. If you've gone over note names or the accidentals video, you know that E sharp is F. So a half step above F means that we are now in the key of F sharp. Another way that you can think of this is that you just go up to the next note. So if you go from E up to the next note of F, and then look back across the key signature, you'll see that that F already has a sharp, so you are in F sharp. There will be no F naturals in this key signature unless they are put in with an accidental. Switching over to flats, our rule is the second to last flat names the key, except for F, which has 1 flat. This is the second key we actually have to memorize. F has 1 flat. But since it's part of the rule, I think it has a nice little rhythm to it. Second to last flat names the key except for F, which has 1 flat. You should be able to remember this pretty easily. So let's look at some examples. If we have 3 flats, they're going to be B flat, E flat, and A flat, always. Everything's always in the same order. So our second to last one, last is A flat, second to last is E flat. We are in the key of E flat major. Let's say you have 5 flats. So now our second to last flat is D flat. So we're in the key of D flat major. Every D in this key is going to be flat, so it is D flat. D major is a sharp key. You have to remember to say D flat major in your naming. The last one we're going to look at for flats is 7 flats. This is all that you could have. This is the most, but same rule as always. The second to last one names the key. So the second to last is C flat. We're in the key of C flat major. If you watched the accidentals and major scale video, you will know that C flat is the same thing as B. Those are enharmonic notes, they make the same sound. Everything in the key of C flat is the exact same enharmonic sound to the notes in the key of B. The only difference here is how you chose to write it. So these 2 lines here, one is in C flat, the other one is in B, and they sound the exact same. To organize the keys, we use a tool called the circle of fifths. We're going to work slowly through this to explain everything on here for you, but the reason it's called the circle of fifths is because clockwise, each letter is a fifth away from the one before. So if we start on C, C, D, E, F, G, that fifth is G, that's the next one. G, A, B, C, D, that's the next one. On the outsides, we have the actual key signatures written. You'll notice that it goes from 0 to 1 sharp to 2 sharps to 3 sharps, etc., and the other direction adds flats the same way. These are also labeled with the major key that goes with them, so that's C, G, and D that we just looked at. Then we have a layer that tells us how many sharps or flats are in each key. And the reason I pulled this up for you is to show you that at the bottom here, these more extreme keys, so 5 flats to 7 flats and sharps, are the same things. They are enharmonics. Like we talked about, C flat and B is on here. They share a spot. So you can see that 5 sharps and 7 flats are the exact same enharmonic key. Also on our circle of fifths, we have a level of lowercase letters. These lowercase letters go to the natural minor keys that use the same key signatures. The reason we call it natural minor is because nothing else happens to it outside of the key signature. You can also make different types of minor scales by adjusting a couple of the notes, more for the sake of making good sounding music. To figure out the natural minor of any key signature, you go to the 6th of the major. So for example, if we start in C, C, D, E, F, G, A. A is our 6th. The natural minor for the key of C is A. These are called relative keys. A is the relative minor of C, and C is the relative major of A. If we use all of the notes from the key signature starting on C, it sounds major. You can think of this as happy. If we use the exact same notes starting on A, it sounds sad or spooky. Since we are using the key of C here, there are no sharps and flats. These are entirely just the white keys. If we wanted to make A major, which we saw earlier has 3 sharps in it, what we would need to change is C to C sharp, F to F sharp, and G to G sharp. So you can also look at it that way. These are called parallel keys. They start on the same note. A minor has a flat 3, 6, and 7. They are lowered down from what they would have been in the parallel key of A major. So if you run across a song and figure out the key for the major scale that it would have, and then notice that the song as a whole sounds kind of minor, or that the note that is the 6th of that scale seems to be emphasized a lot, you're probably actually in the minor key. You can then go from the major key and down 2, or up 5 to get to that 6th note and see if that is your new key. I hope this has been helpful for you for figuring out key signatures. If you're interested in taking voice lessons with me, feel free to sign up. Bye!